This is Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Schaefer. Jennifer!
Richard!
How are you?
I am fabulous. How are you?
I'm really fabulous. And I'm just so excited to see that a tree has grown in your living room.
It myself. See, look at that.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Lighting effect. How cool is that?
It would the really funny thing is that when I first met you, I remember you telling me, I don't have real Christmas trees.
Right, because I can actually hear them screaming when they're dying.
Sorry. But there's a Twilight Zone episode if I ever heard one.
I would get sick every single year. And then once we got a faux tree,
wow.
I never got sick again. But I could hear plants when I talk to them like, what do you need? And they'll tell me.
Water. fresh air, sunlight. Yeah. I need you to put on Beethoven and turn off that punk rock.
Exactly. Speaking of which, I love your book. Oh my goodness. I can't even tell you. I just finished it today, listening to it, because I have to listen to your voice. Just one of those things.
You are so funny. I mean, the book is all about you. So it's not me talking about you.
But here, I don't remember the things that we have talked about unless I hear it again. It just doesn't happen, really. And it was so... It wasn't, I can't stand even hearing about myself, but it wasn't that. The content is so magnificent with your connection to music, your whole family's connection to music, the people that have been brought into your life because of music.
And I got to say, I was telling this to my friend Bruce Herring the other day, because Bruce is a guy who sort of opened a number of doors for me. He was the editor at Billboard. And he was the one who said, why don't we start a band together? And he was the one who said, why don't you write music reviews for me? And so that opened so many different doors. And what happens is when you start to reflect on your life, let's say, that red string where all the events that tie together, meeting you, et cetera, those kinds of things, I started to just focus on it from the musical aspect. And then what is music? What's the frequency of communication, of the timbre and tone of my voice, and whether I'm thinking it up or whether it's coming through me from somebody else. Same goes with music or singing.
Yeah. And
it's so fascinating because it gets confirmed over and over again when we're having a conversation and a musician comes through and says, well, it's all about frequency, and you want to stay in touch with me, put on one of my records.
Right.
And connect to me that way.
So I have to tell you, this week has been crazy, as you know. Tonight will be my fourth wine and spirits event of the week. Not to mention I'm working all day Tuesday.
Wow.
But it's fascinating. And one of my, that was after, so like on Tuesday, gosh, I can't believe it's already Thursday. Tuesday, I had someone that knew Steve Jobs, but when we were talking about music, I was being shown a vintage, like one of the things that he mentioned was a vintage, like I saw, the asteroids, like it looked like a thing that you put on a shirt. And then I saw the Beatles. I saw something else that looked vintage. And I'm like, and I explained this to this person, and this person is just like, oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking about. And said that they were in a vintage clothing store, looking for shirts. And I'm like, yeah. And then I interrupted her and I said, oh my gosh, she says that you looked up and you saw something and you freaked out over it. And I'm like, I'm sure it has to do with, either Apple or whatever, but I was being shown all this other vintage things. And sure enough, it was the first Apple shirt that was up on the wall, which is crazy. But the way that it came through, and I'm thinking to myself, it's normal for John Lennon to come in, right? With the Beatles. Like it's normal in our conversation to have him. So I wasn't sure. I'm like, did Steve know John Lennon? Like, was there, like, I was going in my head to like try to figure it out, but it actually was just because this person was in the store looking at shirts.
Well, you have to reflect on some other things, which are really, and I've heard this before, when Apple starts up, when the computer starts up, it makes that boom sound. and I've heard people say this, I don't know if it's true or confirmed, but it's the same sound from the Beatles song A Day in the Life, when the piano, when all the instruments at the end of the song then rise up, sort of cacophony, and then they hit this one note. It's almost identical to that note that is when the computer turns on. So, you know, and the way we work,
Right.
which is to say, is that true? And then we can ask them. You know, so, but I don't want to invite Steve unless he wants to be invited. And of course, Luana's got the clipboard.
We'll just have, I think he's already here, but okay. So then I was showing something else because he's actually showing me this. So earlier on Tuesday, I was at a funeral, just Wallaby, at 10 a.m. for a dear friend of mine's mother, who I also knew. I loved her. She was actually the first witch I knew, and she told me I would be a great witch someday. I just laughed. I'm like, she was the first person I called. I'm like, I totally get it now about the whole witch thing, whatever. Fast forward, on the way home, I had a client that never had, you know, everybody has boundaries. She would never do this. She's like, something's going on in my house. Can you please call me? So I called her. Well, her son, who I absolutely love, she wouldn't mind me saying this, Eddie. He likes to play with electronics and mix things up and do so, you know, all this stuff. But as we were talking, she ended up showing, to make a long story longer, I asked for a sign that day about Steve and didn't even think about it. She started talking, and somehow it was brought up that her son actually was the nerd on the movie Steve Jobs. He actually played a part on the movie as one of the owners of one of the, I guess, the partners, the early partners. He was the nerd, but he's not a nerd. He's absolutely gorgeous, but he's on the other side. And he's an amazing communicator. I mean, he just is absolutely an amazing spirit that communicates. You know, all the spirits have their own unique personalities.
Yeah.
This guy, Eddie, was an actor, but that was what came through. And then she's like, I have a picture that I'm staring at right now that I'm like, can you send it to me? And it was him kissing her on the carpet of that movie.
Sweet.
And that was, I'm like, that is the craziest thing ever.
So why did they put that image in? Why did Luana put that image in your mind? Steve
did. Because I'm like, Steve, can we talk to you? I'm like, it's just so weird that it's not weird. I shouldn't say it's weird anymore. But he's like, yeah, talk about signs.
Oh, so talk about signs. Okay. So
you put that into my head about the sign that I was given before I talked to this other person. And then it was just unprecedented.
Well, so Luana, if you don't mind, Steve, and we would like to talk to you, and Jennifer and I have chatted with you before, sort of randomly a couple of times where, you know, Jennifer said, oh, he just walked by, and I said, well, can we ask him some questions? So this is a different form of that communication, but I'd like to at least have Luana sort of direct the, go ahead.
I know. Hold on. He's like, stop thinking it's not real. You're wasting so much time.
He's talking to you.
Because I'm the biggest skeptic of his work.
Okay. But Luana, I'm going to ask you, you've got the clipboard, and I want you to go through what we need to talk about today. What's the first and foremost thing on your clipboard?
Signs.
Signs. Okay, very good. Is that related to a dream that I had a couple of nights ago?
Yes.
You've
had two dreams.
I have. It's two unusual ones, but I want to clarify something because and this happens. I know that I'm going to be talking to Jennifer, and a couple of days before, something comes through, and then I'm trying to remember it as I'm waking up. And what I was able to glean was a telegraph key, the idea of communication, that we are like telegraph keys. Now, if you remember how telegraphs work, you don't, but there's a line that goes across country. It's like a frequency and a electrical current. And what happens is somebody puts on headphones, and when you interrupt the current, then you get a click. And those clicks, depending if it's slow or long, a dit a dot or a dash.
Mm-hmm.
That then becomes writing and symbols. So the idea is that we are these, so they're sending us a message and we're the telegraph key, turning that into an image, turning it into, in your case, smells, sounds, a whole video or a physical manifestation of somebody. So it's like now, is that what you were trying? Was that who was talking to me in the dream? That's my question, Lou.
George
Harrison. Oh, okay. And so the conversation was about communication.
Wow. Okay. That's what had to do with Steve. So he showed me all the electrical currents going. We're communicating whether we're conscious of it or not. And our bodies are communicating, animals are communicating. There's so many frequencies they're showing me just flying around. Now, hold on. To make all those coincidences happen that are not coincidences, like what happened the other day. To have that happen where Eddie did so much to that house where she felt compelled to, call me, text me. She's like, I would never bother you, but please, to have that happen and then to have the sequence of events happen later on, it takes thousands of those currents, like electrical currents, to go around. And so
an intent.
Right. So the best, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, you really are mad at me. I know. He's like, if you keep doubting what we give you, he goes, you're talking to people and telling them that they need to look for signs. He goes, but you don't even trust the signs that you get. He goes, how is that helping people?
Well, at the same time, you have to allow that you're interpreting the signs you're getting. Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have the lottery numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And so that allows us at least to examine it. So Luana, is Stephen the first person on your list? Is that who we need to talk to today?
Yes, but also George Harrison.
Okay, very good. All right, very good. I appreciate that. Well, Steve, do you mind if we talk to George first, or do you want to? Or you're up?
There. He's like, I got my point across, and he's pointing at my head. He's like,
okay, no, but of course, I would have some questions for you if you don't mind. If we don't, is it okay if I ask you some questions, Steve?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so let me ask you simply, who was there to greet you when you crossed over? I know I've asked you this before, but
he's like my whole dead family. So,
okay, all the people who've crossed over. Mm-hmm. Were there some of the family members that are still on the planet? My question.
Soul family.
Soul family. So, for example, your mom and dad who are still on the planet, your birth parents, and your adopted parents. But
one of them's over there, I feel.
Okay, that's a possibility, but probably your adopted parents. It could be. But both his mom and dad are still on the planet. Of course, they could be more over there than here because they're so old. Like, put it that way.
Hold on. It was my soul family. And then he showed me Jimi Hendrix. And I have no idea if that was, they're all laughing.
Well, of course, because he seems to show up so often. Well, so what was that like for you? Was that I know that your last words were, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. What was that in reference to?
The love and the colors.
So seeing like the colors and the energy that you were coming into this other realm or coming into this other frequency.
Bliss is the word that he's describing, or the word that's describing what he saw.
I'm sorry, say again.
I asked him if it was seeing and feeling, and he said it was seeing.
Seeing.
It was all of it.
Okay. Observing or seeing. And now once you're over on the other side and you see your soul family, at what point do you realize, oh, this is how things work and life goes on?
Instantly.
And so I just want to reflect on
it was because I believed it.
So you were already there. And if I can, I want to talk about your
That's
life.
interesting. That's the whole, so part of the whole, let's say God, people don't have brain farts when you're listening to this, but he just showed me something interesting about how by believing that there's a God, you believe in the afterlife. He said, maybe that's the concept. He's like, so I believed, he goes, of course I was Buddhist, I believe. He's saying, he goes, it doesn't matter all the spoke, but just have the belief that there's an afterlife opens it so much, it makes it so much easier to go there. So if you know where you're going, it makes it easier to get there. Right?
So I'm going to ask you about.
He actually showed me the maps. The maps.
Like of how to get to where you're going?
Yeah.
Like right. Google Maps?
Yeah. No, his map app.
Okay, his map app. I'm going to ask you some names. I'm going to mention some names to you that Jennifer doesn't know, but you do.
Well, he keeps bringing in who's the guy? Sorry, show me again. His buddy, I believe. I want to say Tim, but I don't think it's Tim. It's the guy that did the research for, and I believe he was part of Microsoft actually, but he did the research for
Paul Allen. Okay, very good. Okay, very good. Well, that would make sense. We've talked to Paul. Paul's a bright guy. We talked to him after he crossed over. And he told us,
that's why Jimi Hendrix was there. Their love for guitars.
Love for guitars. Well, we did talk to Paul. We asked him about music. He said that he was creating a ukulele because it was an easy instrument to create. And then but also Paul was the guy who created the Jimi Hendrix Museum in Seattle. So we've talked about that and all that stuff. But I'm going to throw some names at you, okay. Steve. Have you talked to Otagawa?
Otagawa.
His first name is Kobun. Kobun. Have you seen him since you've been over there? He could say no. Doesn't matter.
Kobun. He was like his first stop.
One of his first people to. And what was your? And what was that like? Was he young? Was he old? Was he?
Hold on. He says he was my age.
So about the same age, and so what was that like for you? Was that a spiritual thing, an emotional thing, or was it like old friends greeting each other again?
We wept.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like we cried.
Very good. Okay. Is there anything that Kobun wants to say to, I mean, I know he's, of course, accessible because
he says and I don't know who Corbin is, by the way.
I know you don't. I know you don't, yeah.
But he's saying that, show me again, hold on. He helped me so much. So there's something.
Steve is saying Kobun helped him so much.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. He says, I almost feel like he saved his life by giving him life, and I'm not sure what that means.
Saved his life by giving him life. Okay, that's brilliant and accurate. Sorry. So his relationship with Kobun was responsible for saving his life, according to his journey. You don't know who that is, and that's why I asked it that way. But I just like to ask Kobun one question, if he doesn't mind. And Luana, is that okay? Can we just ask Kobun to come forward?
Yeah, he's there. Hold on. Does he have long hair? Or
he could over there. He did not in life, but that's fine. But that would be fine because, of course, he was a fellow who had short hair.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't have hair. Hold on a second.
Okay.
It's just, I feel like there's a person that's showing me the back of him, and this is the whole reason why. They never waste a thought, but it has to do with George Harrison and somebody that George Harrison worked with. Okay,
very good. All right, very interesting. Well, we'll get to that in a second. George, hold that thought.
I have no idea what that means.
I think I do. So I think what they're saying is these are related. George's spiritual journey and this fella Kobun's spiritual journey are related. Is that correct?
I almost felt psychedelics. That's funny. Yes.
Okay. And speaking of psychedelics, Steve, you did have an LSD trip, I think, that was profound and changed your life. And if you could just
his life in the future, he said.
Wow. So talk to us about that. What did you see during that adventure?
Lots of lights. He saw the information, like the super, like, okay. Hold on. He said, I saw the information highway, so to speak.
Oh,
And he's
And
been
so-
showing me like this huge, like, okay, well, I always reference Turtle in the movie
yeah,
Nemo, and that super, like that thing that they go into and they rate, like it takes them really fast. Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah, I do.
He's showing me like that, only with lights.
Okay, I'm going to throw another random name at you, Steve, that Jennifer doesn't know, but
By
the
the way,
audience might.
this is just my clipboard. See,
Yeah, exactly. Joe Ranft, Ranft. It's related to that image you just saw.
Okay, he's just laughing. Joe Ranft. I don't know why, but hold on.
I do. So what have you seen Joe since Joe's come over?
He's like, I can't get rid of him.
All right. Well, that's really wonderful and sweet. Now recently, I'll tell you who it is, but recently there was a movie called Soul.
Uh-huh.
Are you aware of that,
Yeah,
Steve?
Okay. He said he helped with that. Well,
You helped it. Okay, very good.
From the other side, yes.
And Joe is a running theme within the movie, but Joe's not on the planet anymore. Joe was somebody that Steven hired or worked with at Pixar, and he passed away in a car accident. And we've talked to Joe. Jennifer doesn't remember that, but we talked to Joe after the movie Soul came out because I wanted to know. I saw his name inside, as a little Easter egg in the movie where it said Joe Ranft on the, and he also voiced a number of the characters. So the idea of that information from Finding Nemo just relates right to Joe, but it also relates to.
That's what they showed me. That's what they showed me, Turtle. I mean, again,
I think it's great. It's all connected.
Even if I think I'm thinking it, I'm not. Apparently, they're giving it.
It's all connected. And Luana, Steve, and me and you have a mutual friend named George, not the Harrison fella, but related to Steve's work and related to what we're talking about. Do you want to show Jennifer who that is? That George?
Burns?
No, George Burns. No, this is George is on the planet. He's still here.
Okay.
He's just a very successful.
Clooney?
Well, he's got that same color hair. No, George Lucas, because Steve.
I would not have gotten that.
You would not have gotten that, but that's okay. I was just curious about that. So
now that makes sense. Now it
makes sense because they're Pixar and George Lucas and but the question really would be any message you want to give to George Lucas, Steve?
I'll see you soon.
Okay, nobody wants to hear that. Can I just say that?
Hold on.
Very funny.
He says, tell him he's not done creating films.
Okay.
Done creating his films.
Very good.
Biography that's in the works, or I'm sure there's been written a lot of biographies, but it's about
his journey. And
then Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey.
Yes. Are you familiar with why that's a connection?
No, I have no idea.
This is one of those things that people watching we go, really?
I am sorry. I have 1,000 trillion things going on in my.
I understand. Okay. But let's clarify. So you saw a photograph of the cover of the book, or you saw Joseph Campbell, or you heard the words "A Hero's Journey"?
I heard the words and I saw something like a picture of a ranch, and I don't know why that brought up that.
Okay, Steve, do you want to show Jennifer why there's a connection between Joseph Campbell and a ranch?
Did they? Okay. I guess they work together. That's what
They all work together. And the ranch is George Lucas's ranch called Skywalker Ranch. And it's up outside of San Francisco. And I've been there, and I've been in George's offices, and I sat next to him while he was having lunch. But Joseph Campbell was the inspiration and the advisor on Star Wars. The Hero's Journey was the book that it was based on from George's college days.
I'm sure I've heard this before then, but
but it's all connected. Let's just say it's all connected. And the idea, and we're talking about communication here, which is Jennifer gets that image, that thought, the hero's journey. Somebody would argue, well, it's coming up from her subconscious. It doesn't matter. where it came from.
Steve just put his hand like this and he goes, now that she's not fighting it, it's going to be.
It'll be easier. Okay, very good. So, and I'll tell you who Kobun is. Kobun is a Zen Buddhist monk who Steve met and studied with and learned quite a bit. And when he said saving his life to have his life, that's who he's talking about. Well, so Steve, this is a question about your trip to India, 1974. I mean, we're the same age. So I have the same references you do.
You guys are 50 years old. That's amazing.
But so Steve, you went to see a person named Neem Baba, but he had passed away, and you eventually hung out with a guy named Babaji, another Baba, just teacher, who passed away in 84.
I just got shown Ram Dass.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you're so good. Thank you. Ram was part of this group. Okay. I mean, I did not know that. I just looked it up and I just happened to see it because I thought we might be talking to Steve today. So I did do some research to find this out. And we're talking about Babaji. And
so what did Ram Dass, how is he?
Ram Dass is involved with this group.
I know who Ram Dass is.
Ram Dass is the guy.
I've such a love for Ram Dass. I didn't know how he was connected to the group.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
Did I hear that somewhere? It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Well, let's invite Ram to just say hello for us. Steve, would that be okay? Are you seeing Ram Dass?
Yeah. Yes.
Ram, do you want to put in Jennifer's mind the sentence that I always misquote of yours, or the one I always use of yours, that we are all just what?
Having an earthly experience.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, yes, within a spirit's body. Yeah, that's one of them. The other one is we're all just walking each other home. So what was it like for you, Ram, when you crossed over? I'm just going to ask you briefly.
He said I was already over there.
You were already there. Okay, very good. I correct me. Have we spoken before? Did we have a conversation with Jennifer? Mm-mm. Okay, and so
ouch, sorry. Ouch.
Did he pinch you? What happened?
I just got. They keep giving me chills if I don't say everything. So I just got another picture because I have a client that's deeply connected to Ram Dass, who studied with Ram Dass. So I have spoken to him, but you and I have not spoken to him.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. See, they pinch Jennifer on the other side.
You don't see me go like this. I'm like, I need to get a blanket.
Okay. Listen, there are mundane questions I want to ask Steve. And I mean, there's a lot there. One of them is really specific about your daughter. You had a number of daughters or a number of children, but your first daughter you and her had a falling out, and that's what that movie Steve Jobs was about. I think her name is Lisa.
I've never seen that.
You haven't seen the movie, but there was an issue because she wrote an autobiography called Small Fry, and that was adapted into the movie by Danny Boyle called Steve Jobs. But it was really about the disconnect, and it seems to be one of those stories where somebody has a relationship with somebody.
He said.
Go ahead.
He's saying, he goes, I was really rough on her.
Why?
He said it was a past life thing. He goes, it continued.
With you and the mom?
All of them.
Because it seems like you took out your anger with mom on, but that happens. People do that. But I just want you to clarify that.
He said I was a young punk. This was before he discovered freedom with his mind. Very
good. And you say it's related to a previous lifetime. I was going to ask you about that because you were conceived in Syria.
With his daughter.
Okay. But let me ask you, you were conceived in Syria, 1954. Your birth certificate is Abdul Latif Jandal. So my question is, did you have a previous lifetime in that region or not, or somewhere else?
Yeah, he did.
And
he had one where okay, I can get this correctly because he showed me a bunch of things. I'm trying to understand it. And that I also get like a little bit worried if I ever say anything wrong coming from
You'll get pinched.
I'm like already like, I'm like guarded.
Gun shy.
So he showed me something that like either he dealt with nuclear weapons or the,
military things, let's say.
Yeah, military things. And then he also showed me, life of a monk. He's also showed me
previous lifetimes. In terms of military,
something heavily. Show me that again. He lived in China. There's something about China and his taste for it when he was here.
So when he became a Zen Buddhist, that was connected to it, or recognizing.
I feel like he was definitely killed in like Bhutan or something like that.
Well, in terms of the military lifetime, was that in the 100-year, was that like World War I or World War II? Or somewhere else?
I don't know. I'm hearing like the Korean War or something.
Okay, that's allowed. That's allowed. Of course, he was born in 1955, and so you just logically, it's that, which would have been, it fits. He might have died in 1954, let's say, and then was conceived. But this idea then that when you came to the planet, there was a legal battle over you, and your mother admitted, I think, to your second wife, your second girlfriend, or your mother of your children, that for the first 6 months of your life, she wouldn't bond with you because she was afraid they were going to come and take you away. Did that affect your life, or was that planned to affect your life?
It was planned to affect my life, so that way I would stay tougher.
Stay tougher.
I would always be thinking about the future. I would never think like, and that's where Ram Dass and everybody else came in to have me understand by being present, I could think of the future instead of just thinking about the future and not understanding it.
I see. And so, I just want the audience to realize the reason I'm bringing up these things is to give context to how things go wrong in a lifetime, let's say, when there's difficulties between parents and children.
Like they keep doing it. My company's called One Beautiful Chaos because it takes chaos to make change. If everything's just going along fine, which is ideal, right? But to really make a movement, it takes kind of like a fight. It takes something that I'm sorry. Let me follow through with this. By what happened to him, it made it to where he was tough and was able to handle everything that was thrown at him because he didn't have attachments, because he wasn't attached. So was it wrong for him not to have that as a baby? Would he have liked it more? Yeah, definitely. Because then he could have had compassion towards the people that he was fighting later on. But he's saying that it made him tough and that's what it was supposed to do. And so we look at things as being bad, like the chaos that happens in our lives. But how many times or how many friends have you had that went through divorces that found the true love of their life after?
So the stones in your path become the diamonds later on when you look back at them. You see, that's what helped you your path. So in terms of your legacy, and I mean, a lot of people talk about you, and Paul Allen, let's give him credit as well. But people talk about you as, changing the way the planet thinks and behaves. What do you consider, what's the value of that in terms of your legacy? What is it you'd like to tell the planet?
Reach for the stars.
Because you're there. So what's a way that a tech guy listening into this, and they're up there microdosing LSD because they read that you used LSD and it changed your life, and they're like, hey, so what would you like to tell a tech person working at Silicon Valley right now who's trying to connect with you? What would be a method for them to do that? Reach for the stars. How would they do that?
Thank you. He said, just ask. And I'm like, just ask? And he's like, yeah, but they have to be doing what it's like. They have to be doing what it takes to get to the point to ask me, how I can help. kind of thing. So
And
they can't just go, give me something. They could try, but if they're not doing all the work, if they're not putting into this, like this big box equation, like if they're not putting the effort of the work to create something, you can't just really ask for it. You have to be, oh, okay, thank you. It's kind of like you can't be, 3 foot, you can't be 3'5" and play basketball in the NBA. It's just not going to happen. So if the Silicon Valley guys are working on something and they're truly, if their intent is to help the planet versus helping themselves, then they'll help themselves. Then they'll be helped in the process.
They'll be helped in the process.
Like,
and so
I do this work. I am grateful that I do get paid for it, but I give away so much. Like, I don't give it away. I donate a lot of my work. I've never turned, I don't turn people away, but I do it because I love it. I do it because it's my gift that I can give the world. I do it because I help women get empowered, and I feel like I help them, with their grief or with their whatever they're going through. I help assist connecting them to what they're already connected to. I help their awareness get connected there. And so what he's saying is you have, take your passion first, see where that leads you. Everything else will follow that, because that intent is already out there. You're grabbing it already, but you have to, and I always tell my client, thank you. Do something every day that you love with what you do for work, or find, if you don't like your work, find something else to do.
Okay. But also, just in terms of that communication to asking you specific questions for, to help. So part of it is doing the work to figure out.
Yeah. He says it's an algorithm. You are your own algorithm. That's out there in the universe.
And so how do we tune our algorithm to you?
You have, I know, stop making fun of me. He's like, you first have to believe I can help. He goes, that's 99% of the battle.
Well, that is key. That is key.
As Jennifer single-handedly knows, even though even it took so much for that to happen that day to give me my sign. Yeah,
absolutely.
Nutty. It
is nutty. All right. So Steve, thank you very much I appreciate your attention, and we are always welcome to chat with us, but I'm going to have to give you the bum's rush and ask George Harrison if he wants to sit down and chat.
Hold on. Yes, mate.
All right. So listen, yesterday it was a big day in music history, because we always try to stop and honor your buddy John, because that was the day 41 years ago that he was taken from the planet. We weren't able to hear him playing music again, but we were able to hear him because he still exists. But George, what is it you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about frequency and telegraph communication? You want to talk about Babaji and spirituality? What?
I know I am. He's like, first tell Jennifer to turn off all her Apple products but the computer, because I just had to let my client know that I'm running just a little bit behind.
So that's a reference to Steve. Okay.
Yeah, that was a reference.
Bomb's Rush.
And then, okay, sorry. What? I'm not going to judge it. He's showing me holding hands, like hold hands more, hold people's hands more. I know. I'm like, we have a pandemic.
No, but why? What is it?
I know. He says 2 people are so much stronger than 1.
So that connection empowers people. Is that right? It generates more power. Is that correct?
And then he showed me with my client yesterday with the phone call and all the things that, just by talking to her, all the things that happened. He says and so he's showing me a literal, hand, but by communicating, like with what you just said, by communicating with someone close to you versus just texting them or being on a device, he says the voices literally carry information and transmit information that will help you.
Brilliant. I understand.
Okay.
The connection. So holding a hand.
Stop it.
Holding a hand makes me think of a conversation where somebody was talking about a rope, the frayed rope, and how when you see a rope that's really strong, it's all the intertwines are connected and together. You're stronger when you're connected. So that idea of holding hands as a strength there. But he's also saying not just literally holding hands, but your tone, your frequency, your voice.
That's it.
Connects you to the people that you love and know. And so reaching out to them and having a conversation and telling them you love them or just laughing with them.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. That's it.
He said, you're a thick, because I remember listening into your book, which again, everybody, please get this book if you want. It is so helpful and it's amazing with all the things that you put in it.
What's it called again?
Tuning into the Afterlife.
That's it.
Okay. Tuning into the Afterlife. So you mentioned that Akashic means etheric, and what etheric means is, what is etheric? Means invisible.
Right. but like so, energetically.
So when he said, so when you were you were talking about voices and how things are carrying, he said your etheric voice is your heart. Your
wow.
Sorry. Oh, Chloe.
I hope that was a dog and not somebody an etheric wave.
Hi, Chloe. Hi, baby doll. She loves your voice. Every time that I'm home, she has to be right next to me. And she just woke up, but she scared me. Sorry.
Very good. Very good. Well, that's a brilliant and very profound thing. And George, usually when we've spoken to you or asked you questions, you do give us curveballs and funny comments. And this is really the first time you've addressed us in this way. And I'm curious why. What's on your mind? What's going on? I mean, we've asked you questions before and you usually give us a funny, goofy, Liverpudlian answer.
Still doing it. He's still making fun of it. He says that he goes, I just wanted to beat John.
What does he mean by that?
Beat John in what he has to say.
Like, John or Steve?
Lennon.
Oh, but what do you I don't understand what he means. He just wanted to meet John?
No, beat him to the punch.
Oh, beat John into the podcast.
Yes.
Well, you had to get on Luana's list, obviously. And, I think she met you once after one of your concerts. I think we talked about that.
This is so insane because I'm the one asking Steve. I asked Steve a long time ago, like I cried the night that he passed away. It was devastating to me for some reason. I've never met him at that point. I never met him in real life. But I was just so moved by everything that he's done. That being said, I asked you, but can you get the communication better from the other side? So
yeah, can you fix the frequency, the reception?
And he's like, why do you ask that if you're the one that's saying no? Like he just had to show me again that 98% of this is not having fear. 99% of it is not having hate in your heart, because hate is a boundary. It's not having projections.
And a block, like a blockade.
You're not having judgments, because if you have judgment, you can't do this work either, or you can't connect. Because if you're judging somebody on the other side, let's say it's your father or it's your, whoever it is on the other side, if you have a judgment, your mind says, okay, clock, you can't talk to that person.
Yeah.
So,
well, I love that he comes in to talk about how to communicate, the process of it. And George comes in to remind us about the love connection, which is the tone of your voice or your intent, and connection is the thing that connects you.
And then my dad just came in and he goes, okay, don't forget about the body, go for a run. Cause that's what my dad used to always do. He used to run constantly. And so we just did mind, body, spirit.
Oh, mind, body, and spirit. Okay, very good. And George, does your buddy John want to say hello, or is he busy doing something else?
Yes, he loves what you put in the book.
Okay, very good. I appreciate that. Thanks for the compliment. It's funny when I quote people
like
on the flip
shit.
side.
You sang like shit, imagined.
What? Shit imagined. I like that.
He said you sang like shit.
Oh, I sang like, yeah. Oh, did I sing? That's funny.
You quoted,
You're
saying the words. He said you should have sang. He said you sang.
That's funny. No, of course. When I do the audible, I'm a little bit like Jennifer. I'm just in the moment, and I might sing, I might just talk, and I don't want to just, ruin somebody else's song. No, but listen, we've asked John this question, and it's important. It's nice to, to hear it again, which is that the song Imagine really all represents the flip side. The whole idea of there's no religion, there's no money, there's no borders, there's no, everything is connected between people. And it's just lovely to repeat that concept. But George, you have the chair, so anything you want to add to that?
Hold on.
There it is. Did that come from the flip side, or was that Jennifer?
They told me to play it.
Sweet. We miss you, buddy. No hell below us. Above us in the sky. Imagine all the people. It was so funny. So let me just tell you, John, while you're singing, last night I was listening to the Beatles channel, and they had an interview that you did on that last day. And it was a wonderful, really insightful radio interview that you did with Shoen, I think his name is, Sholin. And you were so enthusiastic about this being a new, starting over, that this being a new phase in your life, that you were so excited to get back to creating music and writing music, and it just reminded me of all we've missed of your musical talent. And I know you still exist, and I know you're still there, and I know you're watching over your family and your friends.
He says, he goes, I'm still living through you guys. The music still carries just like it did now.
So I'm sure you're helping musicians.
It brings us alive when you listen to our music or the books or like your mother just popped in, and Anthe.
Yeah, my mom.
Playing the piano or listening, or just thinking about that. So if your heart's a frequency, like they just showed me how I got really teary-eyed again. I cried during that song almost every time. And I don't know why.
Ask him.
It's just something.
Ask John. John, why does Jennifer cry when she hears that song?
Because I'm sad the world's not like that, I guess. That's what he said.
Sweet.
I didn't see that one coming. Shoot, I have to go.
Well, on that note, John, thank you for stopping by and sharing us a little bit of your genius and wisdom. Any musician we should listen to that you help write songs? Just pop somebody into Jennifer's mind that you've been helping create music.
You showed me the guy from Carpool Karaoke.
Okay, very good. I don't know his name. Oh, Corden, James Corden. All right, and how about you, George? Anybody that we should listen to that embodies your son?
You guys have to go. There's somebody else that's here. Your buddy that passed, your really close friend. That you were
Howard or Bill?
No. That you were on TV with. He was the
Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin. Hold on.
Chuck, well, you got to give Chuck the last word. Go ahead.
He said thank you to you for letting them know how much you love them, or letting them know how much I love them.
Well, and we've shared Chuck's sentiments towards his friends and family and all that stuff.
And he said to have dinner, like you guys need to have a Christmas dinner or something like that.
A Christmas dinner. Okay, very good. I love that, Chuck. We do. We should. All right, maybe we'll all go to New York and hang out with some of your pals for Christmas. Listen, thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it. Thank you, Steve, for coming by. We appreciate it. You're putting up with my weird questions. And thanks for sharing new information, stuff that we've never heard before.
Yes.
That we love to share with the planet. And here we are back into, this is our 7th year together. So off we go into another 7 years of hacking the afterlife. Love you, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. This has been Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Shaffer. For more information, jennifershaffer.com, martinizone.com, or richmartini.com. Hacking the Afterlife documentary is available on Gaia.com via Amazon Prime. Hi, this is Hacking the Afterlife podcast. 2. Hi, this is Hacking the Afterlife podcast. 3. This is Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Shaffer. 1. This has been Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Shaffer. For more information, jennifershaffer.com, martinizone.com, or richmartini.com. Hacking the Afterlife documentary is available on Gaia.com via Amazon Prime.